From WBBZ-TV Sports, it's time to beat the champ. And now, with thanks to Jim Russo from Manor Lanes 2, it's a special presentation of the finals of the 55th annual George A. Obenauer Masters Tournament from Airport Lanes in Cheektowaga.
Well, this is the highlight of Buffalo bowling.
In a tournament like this, it's every dog for themselves.
As always, very tough shot.
With a 3-game match, anything can happen. So
it's a lot more games, a lot more mental thinking, because you gotta make sure you stay in every frame the entire game.
We weren't really all playing the same part of the lane. We were playing where we felt comfortable, and luckily it was the kind of condition where you can actually put your feet where you kind of liked them and just make good shots.
You can't like settle down or get down on yourself. You have to focus, and if you make a mistake, you can just turn it around to the next shot.
I've been fortunate enough to bowl many times. It's a hard, grinding, demanding tournament.
The bowlers are the best, I think, in the world. I mean, our area has great bowlers. You're going against Brad Angelo, Jack Jurek, Ryan Simonelli, and every other local Buffalo guy that's amazing.
Congratulations to the champion of the 55th annual George A. Obenauer Masters Tournament, Dana Voytovich.
Well, hi everybody, I'm Paul Peck, along with Hall of Fame bowler Sue Navoisky, and welcome to a special edition of Beat the Champ. Over the next hour, Sue and I are going to take you through the championship match of Buffalo's biggest bowling tournament. The George A. Obenauer Masters competed for the 55th time in May at Airport Lanes. It was a great matchup, and we've got the two guys here, Sue, that were in our final. It's the champion Dana Voytovich and the runner-up Jack Jurek. And just in the setup for the final match, had very contrasting styles, didn't we?
Right. Well, we have the experience of a PBA professional like Jack Jurek, a little old school, been around a long time, seen these matches a bunch of times, but taking on the new style, the two-hander, which we talked a lot about as the 3 years of Beat the Champ has gone on. And, you know, that's the new way of bowling. It'll be interesting to hear how Jack interprets that, because it's now a part of his lifestyle. His competition is now coming against the two-handed bowler.
All right, well, Dana and Jack are here, and you guys are going to be a big part of going through this match. Dana, it just happened in May. Has it all sunk into you yet that you are the king of Buffalo bowlers for the next year?
It's certainly a good feeling. It hasn't quite sunk in yet. I've been getting a lot of congratulations around town. Like, people, sometimes I'm out and someone randomly comes up to me and say, "Hey, congratulations," just say thanks. Yeah, it hasn't, it's an amazing feeling.
It's a big deal, right? Jack, you won it, 1999. You were looking for your second win, so you know what it's like to win this tournament.
Yeah, TV was black and white back then when I won, but just to be a part of this tournament for as many years as I have, it's something that I've always looked up to. You always want to win this tournament. And in my advanced stages now, to have another chance was great. Hopefully there's still some more, but you know, it's never nice to be on this chair, but it was a great match to be a part of.
Know. So again, it comes down to, after these two guys split earlier today, it comes down to one match, 3 games. Whoever has the highest pin total in those 3 games becomes the Obenauer Masters champion. So we're going to take you through all 3 games between Dana and Jack and break it down and update the scores and let these guys talk about what they're thinking. So here we go with the 55th Obenauer Masters from Airport Lanes. Dana versus Jack. Well, Dana, you had a nice cheering section there for you for the championship match, didn't you?
I did. My parents came out, and my girlfriend and my buddy Josh helping ball rep a little bit.
But we were missing a very familiar face to Beat the Champ bowlers, which is your Uncle Greg. And where was he? We know he wasn't out buying new shoes.
No.
I knew that
he was out of town for work. I can't remember what city he was in, but.
Well, I'm sure he was bummed about. So here we go, first match, or first game of it, and right off the bat, Jack, you're already throwing your arms up already.
That's why I don't watch.
A strike right off the bat for Dana, and you know, again, was that foreshadowing of what was to come or not? Who knows? But now you're back here, Jack, and remember, I want to keep people in mind that you guys had bowled 2 matches already earlier in the day. Dana, you had beaten Jack 658 to 639 early, and then you come back in the championship match, and Jack beats you 695 to 517. So that's why we went to that 3rd match like that. So it's not like you guys weren't used to feeling each other across the lanes, you know, as you were in this one.
We've got to spend a lot of time during the week, either on the same pair during qualifying, or our matches were close enough we got pretty familiar with each other during the course of the event this week.
Well, body language says it all, and obviously you didn't like that shot off your hand because you walked away from it as soon as you.
No.
Did you miss to the right or?
Yeah, that was just for me. It was just it's first shot. It's first shot. It's the Masters. It's the final match, and it's been almost 20 years since I've won. And I think Dana's first shot a little left, my first shot a little right. I think the prestige of winning a Masters shows early in our first couple shots.
Is it frustrating to you that you haven't been able to win? You've only been able to win one, and that's crazy because you're one of the best bowlers this town has ever seen. And there are some guys, Mike Newman and Brad Angelo, who have won 3, 4 of them. Does that bother you a little bit?
Yeah, it's definitely something that's stayed with me for a long time. I've had plenty of opportunities, but in all fairness, that's a testament to how tough this tournament is. I mean, between the caliber of talent that we have in the Buffalo area, the format, so much comes into play. Luck of the draw, who you catch on a match, what pair you catch, one key shot late in the match, a good break, bad break, can be the difference between winning and losing. And I think it's something that if you don't bowl the tournament, it's really hard to comprehend how difficult this tournament is to win.
That's the great in for me to ask you, Dana, about the fact that you had 1 and 2 pin wins earlier in the week, leading up to being in the final. So that's kind of what Jack is talking about, isn't it?
Right, everything kind of went my way. I didn't bowl that great during the matches, but like when it counted, I threw the shots when I needed to for the most part. So it was a lot of who I caught at the right time. So I caught some tough pairs.
So that's a couple of strikes for Dana in frames 2 and 3. So
right there
he's
is
starting
the power.
strong.
That's
right?
the power, though.
Yeah.
Generated. One of the things that Dana has with his style is the ability to create a little room and a wider pocket. Power and accuracy in this game is huge, and that's what Dana has a lot of.
And here's the 3rd frame strike. A little late on that one, but they all get right. You're lucky. Another one of your lucky breaks there.
Yeah, I got everything went my way during this tournament for sure.
And what's funny is that you, during the course of the competition, also you were matched up against Ryan Simonelli, and that match never took place.
Again, that's one of the things, we talk about right place, right time, things going your way. I happened to catch Ryan in the perfect time where his wife decided to go into labor and had...
So that's just the circumstances of what happens during this tournament. You win a 1-pin match or a 2-pin match. You get through a match against, another PBA guy that, had to withdraw from the tournament. And it just, things happen to get you where you
They didn't name the kid Jack, did they?
I think actually, as a matter of fact, they did call him
Jackson.
Oh, well, there you go. See?
Jackson, I believe
Good.
is
And that distracted us from having to have you talk about the Open that you left there in the 3rd. That was a nasty split you had to deal with.
Yeah, that was just a shot, a little soft off my hand. Right now, I'm really not comfortable on this pair yet. Between a little bit of nerves, I'm going for the title, and just not having the best of ball reaction.
Every pair that we were on was definitely a bit different from the last. The first match, I had really good luck right off the bat, and then the second match, on the fresh, the same pattern, same everything, they played completely different, and I couldn't quite get anything going the second match.
Yeah, so after opening with all the strikes, there's a spare opportunity that you were able to convert in frame number 4. Do you have to change your mindset at all, knowing that this was, that even though you'd bowled each other twice earlier today, this is it. This is the last one. There's not going to be any more winner take all here. Does that ever change the way you approach a match like this? Jack, you've been on TV in championship matches before.
I don't know if it really changes the way you approach things, but I think just, at least in my case personally, it's how my body reacts to a situation. It's the same game that you've been playing all your life, but the value and meaning that you put on it in your own mind adds, in my case, some stress to a situation.
Right. So we saw the spare in the 4th frame. Here's a strike in the 5th. So we're halfway through game number 1.
This feels like a good time to take a short break. We'll be right back with more action on Beat the Champ. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. Let's get back to the action here on WBBZ-TV.
Welcome back to our special edition of Beat the Champ as we continue to take you through the Obenauer Masters Final. We are in game number 1 of the championship match between Dana Voytovich and Jack Jurek. And Dana, here you are in the 8th frame. You get yourself a little bit of one of those tricky splits.
Right. That ball, I didn't like the way that ball started to react after like the first 5 frames. I knew like I had to change, but I couldn't yet. I was going to wait till probably the 10th frame, and yeah, I just missed it there.
So a couple 2-pins I see as you've gone along here. So is that what it wasn't turning back around again?
I hit that ball with a 1,000 pad right before we started, and it started to shine up, so it wasn't quite reading where I wanted it to be. And this one I just get in.
So you were pretty much in jail at this point.
Yeah.
If you got it to a little bit right, it was hanging out there, and you got a little bit, you tried to straight out a little bit, and it went left.
Right.
But the nice thing is well, the 210 obviously is not desirable, but when you can catch a strike on a bad shot, obviously, I mean, gives you a little bit of breathing room.
Right.
Jack, this was a nice roll for you here, a strike in the 9th frame.
Yeah, early on, trailing big, not an ideal situation. So, I think both of us were really kind of struggling on that right lane a little bit early on. I think, he went light a couple times, I went light. It was definitely something about that lane that wasn't being very kind to us. Another one off my hand, just not real good, just a little quick off my hand.
Well, but the look on your face said it all there, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't hide my emotions very well.
So after that disappointment there, Jack has to try to see if he can't finish out the 10th frame and pull in this split, and it just doesn't happen. And what that kind of sets up is what ultimately we'll talk about in a minute is our final score here, because we're worried about the pins. And Dana, you're able to at least finish strong here and rack up a little bit more pin total to finish off a win in game number 1.
Right. I believe I leave a washout here, if I remember. Yeah. And then I made a good shot on the spare and thankfully made it, and then struck on the fill. I think I changed balls in the fill, if I remember correctly.
There's your Jack Jurek.
But I mean, looking back on it now, not even at the time, you're caught up in the moment, but the right lane, obviously, for both of us, there was just something about it. I don't know, a little hang spot. So much about our game that doesn't get credit is topography of a lane. I mean, a lane looks like all lanes look the same, they're level, blah, blah, blah. But if you actually run a machine over top that graphs the lane, you'll see subtleties left and right. The lane will be tipped a little bit one way or another. And all it takes is a subtle little tilt of a lane, and now it looks like your ball's trying to climb uphill, and it won't. And looking at things right now, I'm guessing that there's definitely something on lane 10 that is going to force both of us to make some sort of adjustment.
Yeah, that was a great spare pickup for you, Dana, and then you're able to kind of take that momentum and finish it off strong here. When you're in a 3-game series match here, finishing strong important?
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely wanted to have the biggest lead possible going into the second game, because there was a match earlier, I was up 70 pins after the first game, I only won by 2. So I knew I needed as many pins as I could get, for sure.
Welcome back to Beat the Champ as Sue and I continue to take you through the championship match of the 55th Obenauer Masters. Dana Voytovich and Jack Jurek. Game 1 is in the books, guys. Give me a sense of what you learned about the lanes and the oil pattern that you're dealing with, Dana.
Pair to pair was tough. The first pair was completely different than the next pair, and then the next pair after that was still completely different from the previous pair.
Jack trying to figure all that, and it was a very tough oil condition to begin with, right? So not only was it challenging, but trying to figure it out made it hard.
It's amazing that this is our 3rd match on a 3rd different pair with the same condition, but each pair played so much differently, it seemed.
All right, so let's get rolling for game number 2.
Jackie, as you start game 2, you're down 47 pins. And, as you get up to throw the shot, you know that, but you've made a point of not looking at any shots. So have you really not watched any of the bowling before you've gotten to this point, as far as when Dana's up to bowl?
I haven't really watched what Dana's doing, no. I watched his fill ball in the first game. Noticed he did make a ball change. We were both struggling on the right lane. I made a ball change to start this game too. I'm down 47, and right now my thought is just, how can I cut this lead in half?
Right, well, as we're watching this, I'm noticing that Dana wasn't really any more lined up than you were, and you didn't even allow yourself to even know that. I mean, would that have affected how you would have looked at the second match? Because that ball change for Dana was great. I mean, he struck on that fill ball, but as I'm watching this match go on, you were both kind of like fishing on that pair, and yet what you knew was that fill ball struck. Does that affect your mindset going into game 2? Like, now he's lined up and you're still kind of fishing.
I wouldn't say it really changed too much of anything. For me, all I can really do is control what I do. I mean, I've got no control over what he does, which is one of the reasons why I don't watch. What Dana does is he's going to make every shot he can, the best he can, and good, bad, or indifferent. There's nothing I can do about it. When you're struggling, I might watch a little bit more just to see what it is he might be doing different than I. Mm-hmm. Knowing Dana as long as I have, his style compared to mine, he's always going to probably be left of me, and that is always something that is sometimes a disadvantage when you've got a player that can be just inside of your line, because it's going to affect my laydown area a little bit. It's going to affect the break point down the lane a little bit. So there are some things to watch, but I can't get caught up in too much what.
And Dana, do you watch your opponent while they're up?
Oh yeah, I watch everything.
Interesting. I mean, it's interesting what the mindset is, because bowling is as physical as it is. It's also just as mental. So, we can say, obviously you can't control what the person does. You can only control what you do. But there's so much mental that goes on during the course of a match that.
I don't know if I'm the right guy to talk about mental.
Let's see what the reaction shot is before we let Jack answer that question or not.
So. Well, again, that was the right lane, and I went light again. Something about that lane.
Dana, we're so used to on Beat the Champ, one game shot, so you got to win the game, right? But here, in a 3-game series for the championship, it's not so much about winning the game, it's the pin count. So was 47 pins after the first match a comfortable lead? Do you allow yourself to go, okay, don't mess up now, I don't have to be as aggressive, or knowing it's Jack Jurek, it wasn't a safe lead?
It was comfortable, but I know in the back of my head, because of the match previous, or against Zane, I was up 70 pins after game 1, and I only won by 2. So I know I can't ever let off the gas, especially with Jack, as talented as he is. Definitely have to get as many pins as possible.
So that was a good lesson for you then, wasn't it?
It sure was.
Jack, on the flip side, when you're down 47 pins, do you have to change? I always think of it as golfers who are behind have to go for the pin more aggressively. A golfer who's in the lead can play for pars and play it safe. Is there any equivalency to bowling?
I would say definitely, yeah. You're in a point, even though I've got 17 more frames here in this match, there's a lot of time to pick up that deficit I'm in. You do have to start striking at some point. You got to figure something out, because Dana's bowled too good into this whole week that I can't depend on something bad happening to him. I have to make my own shots and put some heat on him.
You didn't like that fourth frame shot, Dana?
I didn't.
Yeah, we can kind of tell there. So, and again, what's really interesting and intriguing about this is that, every good shot makes you feel a little more comfortable and moves you further towards the finish line. Every bad shot may make you think that I'm opening the door for the opponent.
For sure, especially you don't want to miss. I didn't want to miss on that left lane, which we both thought was the easier of the 2 lanes. So missing there is worse than missing on the hard lane.
And that winds up being an open in the 4th frame, as Dana is not able to finish off the spare. So again, Jack, I'm sure you're thinking as you roll in here to the 5th frame, okay, anytime a guy goes open, there's an opportunity.
Oh, this is definitely one of the chances for me to try and get back into the match.
And what's interesting in these type of patterns it's not that easy to just get comfortable and kind of start freewheeling it, because you can never freewheel it on this because you don't have area that's you might have on, say, a house shot or something like that, although that was a very good shot.
So that winds up. That
that's
winds
a big
up.
shot.
That winds up being a 5th frame spare in game number 2 for Jack Jurek.
This looks like a good time to take a break. We'll be back with more Beat the Champ right after this. Welcome back to Beat the Champ. So Jack, we look for turning points in matches. And although we're only in the 5th frame of the 2nd game, down 47, there was a big opportunity there. You threw a great shot. You knew you threw a great shot. And sent a little messenger over to that 7-pin and never hit it. So bit of a turning point there, or a lost opportunity maybe.
Yeah, it was a chance to gain some momentum. I made a ball change in the 4th frame on that right lane. It was close. It would have been a chance to really put a little heat on Dana and get him
Plus you
thinking,
turn around
hopefully.
and you struck on the left lane then, so that...
It's a 20-pin swing right there if I catch that.
Absolutely. So you look at that score sheet now, and now all of a sudden it looks like, you know, the match might be flipping around a little bit. And, you know, so what are you thinking when you kind of sit down here? Feeling kind of lined up?
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting closer. But again, to me, you know, it's an opportunity that got away from me.
And so now Dana, looked like you were like struggling a little bit, and now all of a sudden you come out and you throw this really amazing shot there. So perfect place for it. This is the ups and downs, the momentums of the game of bowling. So it's like perfect example of what really happens in the ebbs and the flows. You're going up there on an open. What did you change? What did you do?
I'm not quite sure, but I knew I bared down more. I knew Jack missed an opportunity there, and I just wanted to keep the heat on him. I didn't want him to put pressure on me. I just wanted to keep it pressure on him.
So this winds up, as we're going to see you try to get this spare here in the 6th frame, Dana. Again, one of those very pivotal points where will everybody see the results? But again, it's one of those spots where you've got to be thinking, uh-oh, what have I done here? And Jack's got to be thinking, boy, maybe this is the chance. And there's what happens. It just hooked on you a little too much there?
Yeah, that was not a good frame. But first shot I amped up a little bit, and that one tugged it in a lot. Kind of embarrassing, but.
So Jack, when you're down, like we said, 47 pins going into game number 2, are you thinking, I want to cut this in half? I want to go into the deciding game in the 20s range? Is that kind of how you're approaching it?
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the first game, I'm just trying to figure out, you know, you're not going to get 40 all back at once usually. My hope is just if I can get it to 20, then there's always a chance.
Great shot there, Jack. So this is you've struck in the last shot.
I'm finally starting to dial in the right lane just a little bit. And actually, I'm sure, you know, Dana's rev rate and stuff from earlier on is finally starting to open up a little spot out down the lane. It's going to open it up for both of us, but at least now I've got a chance to get my ball to recover.
So at this point, we have a 35-pin lead.
I've closed the margin, yes.
In this particular match, right?
Yeah. Now I'm at least thinking that we got a chance.
Well, that briefly looked like
that
it could be a disaster.
That was one of those moments where in a split second you go through highs, lows, a little bit of everything. You swear, you're happy.
This will be the happiest spare you've ever had.
Well, yeah, you know, 7-10 at that particular moment, that may have just took the wind right out of my sails.
We might have looked back on that and clearly defined that, Dana, as the moment if that winds up being a 7-10 split for him.
Right. I was like, darn.
Well, and I will add on these type of lane conditions, the shot, what's happening, the results are magnified. So, you know, it looks like, wow, these are great bowlers. How did they miss by that much? Honestly, they're not. You're not missing by that much. But once you see on these patterns, your slight errors look like much bigger errors.
You definitely do. You definitely have to be crisp with your shots.
Dana, does your style of bowling, the two-handed style, allow you any more margin for error when it comes to the right ball choice, the lane conditions, the wear and tear on a lane? Is that part of the benefits of what you can do with the two-handed style?
Yeah, for sure. It's all with the speed and the rev rate. Definitely can open up a lane.
So this begins a very critical point in the championship match, because we're about to show you multiple strikes in a row. Jack, for you that's really important because you're trying to make up the deficit, but ultimately it winds up being more important for Dana, who doesn't let you catch up.
Well, that shot there, you can see how well he posted that one up. He was just solid the whole way, and I think Dana took advantage of the fact that by me getting spare in the 7th, kind of gave a little bit of an opening back to him. He just walked right through that and took command again.
And again, Jack, you're doing what you need to do here, which is not let him relax, keep the pressure on him by making strikes.
Yeah, my job right now is to just try and put any kind of thought in his head that, I don't want him to get loose and freewheel. So I'm trying to do whatever I can to keep it interesting. Having never won a Masters, I'm hoping that inexperience in that situation may come into play.
So are you trying to be intimidating?
No. the only thing I can do to intimidate anybody is try and strike. And at least for a brief moment, I started to.
Well, Dana, because you're a guy who does pay attention to your opponent, what are you thinking as he's rattling off some strikes here?
Well, it seems like we both got locked in here, so we definitely got super focused, and this was a big part of the match.
Yeah, I think as you've reflected on this match in your mind, you were the one who said you thought this was one of the critical moments of the championship match, was the end of game number 2 when you're able to knock off what winds up being 4 consecutive strikes.
Right, with the bad start I had of this game, to bail 203 out of it, that was big. That game could have easily spiraled out of control. I could have shot 150, 140 that game.
Well, one thing that I think that as we all watch this together, it's body language. And you can see that was a great confident shot. So at that point, it seems like you're gaining confidence back, because that was solid. You
posted it right at the end.
That was just absolutely perfect.
Right.
So
I go up there thinking, I tell myself, how bad do you want this? I almost yell at myself when I'm up there. How bad do you want this? To get amped up, to get in the zone, get super focused.
It's as good as you can throw it right there.
Is that something that you need to do? I mean, you're a pretty low-key, mellow guy as we've gotten to know you over the last couple of years. So is that part of your own personality that you tell yourself, I can't be mellow and low-key here?
Right, yeah. I mean, I feel like I have to be fired up to make the shots, to get in the zone, to be focused. I have to amp myself up a little bit.
how many tournaments would you say that you compete in over like a year's time?
Almost every weekend during the fall and winter, for sure.
So that would be part of your preparation to going into something like this, because you know how the matches go, and you know how to mentally prepare for these type of matches.
For sure, definitely bowling all the tournaments has helped me to, and especially in matches like this, when you have to make a shot, you can easily let the nerves overtake you, but just having so much experience, you learn how to deal with it.
So this is the final of 6 consecutive strikes to end game number 2 and make up what was a pretty sizable deficit for Dana and an advantage for Jack. And Jack, you've got to be watching this, I don't know, starting to worry a little bit. You know, you had that chance to almost cut into the whole lead, and then you watch him rattle, or you don't watch him rattle off 6 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't have to watch. You can.
He'll hear it.
There is a sound. There is a sound that the ball makes when it is perfect.
And that was a big shot right there, because
that to me right there, that shot there was probably the biggest turning point in the match. I was in a position to make it 10 pins,
mm-hmm.
and now I've still got a big hole to climb out of.
Right.
So not able to get the strike there in the 10th frame for Jack. He does convert the spare, but as he just said to you, you kind of knew it. You can almost see it that you knew it a little bit there. So it winds up being a win in game 2 for you, Jack, but only by 14 points, which just doesn't cut the deficit enough.
Not enough, no. I mean, it helps. I mean, anytime you can cut the gap a little bit, it makes it a little bit easier, but I had a chance to really make it an interesting final game.
Yeah, so unable to cut that deficit in half, as Jack said earlier he was hoping to do. You almost wonder if maybe that took your eye off the prize a little bit here as you wrap up with an open frame. So match number 2 comes to an end with Dana Voytovich still in the lead and in control. Welcome back to our special edition of Beat the Champ as we take you through the championship match of the Obenauer Masters held in May. So Dana wins game 1, Sue. Jack wins game 2, but more importantly, Dana maintains a 33-pin lead heading into the final 10 frames.
Right, which, as we saw, both these guys both lined up there in the second game, and they're on the same pair, so they're both feeling pretty comfortable and they're both able to strike. So now that 33 pins is a lot of pins, where if they're both still fishing around, it's attainable. Now all of a sudden, it is a bit of a gap that Jack has to overcome.
All right, so game 3, would it be a coronation for Dana or an amazing comeback for Jack?
So Dana, you're up 33 pins. You're both pretty lined up. How are you feeling going into this shot right here?
I was feeling pretty good until I left the 10 pin. I thought it was a really good shot.
Are you nervous about spares like that? Do you look at the 10 pin and say, oh no? Or
No,
just,
not generally.
But did it make a difference because this
if there was
the
ever
third
a time
game?
when you might, it would be in the final game of the Obenauer Championship match.
Exactly. Spares are definitely tougher under these conditions.
And again, Jack, every little opening, could be the one. And when you see him miss this in the first frame, when something's got to change here, what are you thinking?
Oh, right now, that's a gift 10 pins right there for me. So it makes the task just a little bit easier to maybe try and overcome. So this again, right now, I've had a couple chances to really make a difference in the match, and this is another one.
Well, that's a good way to do it, right?
Yeah, that's
a nice strike.
Now I'm feeling a little nervous.
As we watch the replay here.
I have to ask. So Dana's bowling tournaments every weekend, and he has that confidence that kind of gets built with that. When you're in that moment, do you flash back to your career and how many times you've been standing in that position in front of people bowling for, big things? You've bowled out on tour a long time and, not bowling as many tournaments now, but are you feeling that when you're standing up there?
There's a lot of things that unfortunately run through my head in situations like this. And the bad part for me is I tend to remember more of the bad stuff that's happened to me. And this is one case there where here I had a chance and I just let it get away again.
That shot was set up by the one before, because as people saw your reaction very close in the camera there, you knew you kind of messed up there, and clearly that carried you into not being able to pick up the spare.
To an extent,
That's
yes.
a spare you make 99% of the time.
Not the easiest spare in the world, but yeah, a situation that, there.
But that expression on your face when you walked off was, there it goes again.
Unfortunately, that is probably, my history is, yes.
So again, Dana, I asked this to you a little bit earlier. Is there such a thing as bowling a little safer? And have you reached that point now, particularly after you watch Jack with the Open? Are you bowling a little safer at this point in game number 3?
I definitely don't think so. 30 pins is definitely you definitely can make that up, not easily, but quickly if he starts striking. So I definitely don't want to let my foot off the gas for sure.
I mean, right, the last thing you might do is make a shot that's going to leave something that's going to be difficult to make. And in this case, you had that 210 staring at you for a second.
Right, I got the good break there.
I think over the years, all the tournament bowling, if you get in the mindset of trying to play safe, you're just inviting trouble.
I definitely second that, yeah, for sure.
But is there a risk versus reward that you have to make in your own approach about, I don't want to leave myself something that I know I can't make? Is there the ability to wrap that around your head a little bit at a point in a match?
Well, I'm not really sure you can. I think over the years you get geared. I mean, this game is all about throwing strikes for the most part. Even on a demanding condition, your thought is throwing a strike.
I see you looking at that leave. That was as good as you're going to throw it, am I right? That was a great shot, was it not?
It was pretty good.
And you're looking back at that 10 pin like, what do I have to do?
Right, that's the second one in a row on that lane where I thought they were good shots and I didn't drop the 10 out.
And are you thinking, do I change something at this point? Or
yeah, that's going through my head too. I'm like, what do I do now? I don't want to make the wrong ball change right now.
Maybe that's what I'm referring to. Maybe it's a decision about a ball change or a movement on the lanes that might qualify to what we're talking about.
I would say, yeah, to some degree. If you've got, to me, if I've got a lead and I've got a reaction to the pocket, I may stay with the ball longer because I at least know where it's going to be. You make a ball change. Now, myself, in a trailing situation now, I might be more inclined to make a ball change because I have to.
Yeah, because something, got to try something.
Because he has to strike.
Right. If Jack was striking like he was in the previous game, I might have made a ball change right here too, knowing that he's going to start striking, and I need to figure something out so I can carry the corner.
So that's one of those times when you do kind of react to your opponent, right? We talk so much about this as a sport sometimes where you can't worry about what your opponent is doing. You have to kind of bowl your own game. But Dana, you just said that's when you may see what your opponent, almost play defense, so to speak.
Well, there's not really deep. Well, I mean, it's definitely different. I mean, I just don't want to make the ball change and go split where he's just going spare and making a pin. So if I can just leave a 10 pin and make my spares and stay even with him, that's all I need to do.
Right. This was a pretty impressive pickup here for you, Jack, in frame number 4 after a disappointing first ball.
Yeah, it was another one of those shots that got away from me, and I'm in a little bit of trouble. An open here, and I can almost kiss the mask goodbye.
So a nice pickup for Jack Jurek. We'll head to the home stretch and see if Dana Voytovich is going to be the 3rd youngest winner of the Obenauer.
The action will continue on Beat the Champ in just a minute. Welcome back to Beat the Champ.
Dana, Jack's run out of frames to catch up with you at this point, and you've got to be kind of aware of that. So your mindset, I'm sure, is to stay clean. Although Jack just, had that impressive pickup.
Wow, I've seen that reaction way too many times.
Did you see? Now you watch him, so you see that reaction.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and that's just something to feed off of as well. But again, we're halfway through this match, and it's not, we haven't picked up a whole lot of pins. So are you looking at target-wise? When you're looking at the lane, you obviously don't want to miss right because missing right creates problems.
Right.
2 pins, 2 10s, this and that. So are you trying to just get it to a target? I mean, how are you looking at the lane at this point?
Pretty sure I made a ball change here. I was pretty sure I was just trying to get it to 10 down lane at the break point. See, that one was right.
That lane,
yeah.
That lane, I didn't realize it at the time going through it. I mean, the match goes by so fast, but that lane was just a bear.
Because I'm watching it and I'm thinking, what's your mindset to stay out of trouble? Because that little leak to the right.
But in Dana's ball choice there, he went to a stronger ball trying to get left and get it to recover. And even that still, as strong a ball as that is, and the rev rate he's got, you just get it to a point down the lane, it's just no man's land.
Thankfully, made that spare. Didn't hook by it this time.
On that condition, that was not an easy spare.
No.
I mean, it's all you do is set it just a little short, and the middle is going to hook.
What are you thinking about there, Dana?
Trying to figure out how to strike. I don't know what to do. Made the ball change. It still didn't strike. So.
Pretty incredible that we're talking 10 minutes later from a game where we both looked like we had the pocket.
Right.
How fast the condition can change nowadays.
Is it any more difficult for either of you to adjust because your styles are so different? When things change like that, is it any easier or harder for you, Dana, with your two-handed style to adapt to that, adjust?
I just think you get a lot of advantage with the rev rate. You can get left and hit it more and have it come back from maybe
So was that your
farther right.
adjustment there? I mean, you sat and thought about this.
I think that shot looked like I got it a little more right and threw it slower and maybe hit it a little more.
And I thought the speed was slower too, so that was an interesting adjustment for sure.
Desperate times now.
So what does that mean? What does
I'm
that mean to you?
I'm running out of frames,
Right.
and now I've reached a point where I have to strike. I mean, there's just no doubt about it.
Swinging for the fences a little bit, huh?
To an extent, yeah. This is a case of not so much what watching what he's doing, but just knowing the score. There's just no tomorrow, and tomorrow never comes sometimes.
Did you know that was a bad shot off your hand?
No, it was a ball change. It was the first time I threw that ball and it landed.
Right, because you could tell by your reaction that.
Yeah, I didn't have the immediate turnaround flinch.
Right.
I had been really working on some changes the last few weeks going into the Masters. I bowled the USBC Masters in April and had probably one of my worst events ever as a pro. And I was ready to just kind of stop bowling. And I worked on some things. I spent 3 weeks just working on some drills. I made some changes. And unfortunately, under the gun of trying to win a Masters, a Buffalo Masters, that's where the changes just never were quite cemented. I just didn't have enough confidence in what I was doing and couldn't make the shots in the key moments.
Dana, I mentioned that you wind up being the third youngest Obenauer Masters champion, and two of the three have come in the last 2 years. Kevin Bianco was a little younger than you were when he won last year. Is it a little shifting in the generations here in Buffalo bowling? And be nice to the more mature bowler there to your left.
Yeah, I mean, me, Kevin, Andrew, Chad, a bunch of us guys. We work with Brad. We've got to know each other pretty well, and seemed like Brad taught us a lot and have a lot of success on the lanes. So.
And does that have a lot to do with reading ball reactions and reading, trying to make decisions on what bowling balls to go to?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, bowl you. I mean, I can't say enough about Brad's and Rick's program at Benoit.
You could see the kids coming up. I mean, what Brad's been able to do with them. I mean, it's a different game. Just like anything else. I mean, the golf game today is not the same golf game that Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus played. So you have to adapt and adjust. And nowadays, it's a more cerebral game. And not only you still have to execute shots, but it's a very mental game as far as making adjustments, making changes. And the young guys coming up now, I mean, these guys are really good at it.
But they're honing their craft. I mean, they're learning. I don't want to say from a book, but they're learning not just on the lanes, but they're learning what to look for, and they're honing their game by going out and bowling tournaments and getting a lot of experience, in that type of situation.
You can practice all you
well.
want, but there's one thing, the tournament experience is something you can't buy, and that's these guys getting out and doing it that's going to help just keep improving their games.
So here's Jack now in the 9th frame, and again, we're at that point now where I think, Jack, that
it was gone.
Just not enough frames. There's not enough frames for me to catch up.
It was a really good week. I think considering where I was a month before, my mind state and where my game was at, to have a run at it and actually have a chance at 55 to win in Buffalo Masters, it was rewarding. It was obviously disappointing. But at the same time, there was a lot of good to come out of it.
So do you have any inclination to continue to bowl some tournaments going forward this year?
At this moment, I wouldn't say I'm quite ready to retire just yet.
Good. We're all happy to hear that, by the way.
I love the Buffalo Masters. I love the Obenauer. I still, at this age, I still want to win another one. And I think this year at least showed me that for the time being, I still have a chance.
Would you be if you win one next year, would you be the oldest to win?
I don't know. We were trying to find that out during the week. I believe Phil Dewey, they were talking the last time he won it, he may have been 62, so I might have to bowl for a while.
All right, well, you got a few more years still to go there. So Dana, as we head to you wrapping things up here in the 10th frame, what an amazing couple of days. You graduate college on a Saturday, you win the Obenauer Masters on a Sunday. Could you have asked for two pretty cool life moments to have happened in the span of 24 hours?
It was probably the best weekend of my life. Definitely the biggest tournament win so far.
Yeah, and there's the nice congratulations from Jack when it's pretty much decided at that point. And for Dana, it's just rolling out here and posting the final score. And at this point, what's going through your head? You kind of know you've won, right?
Yeah.
Are you fighting the urge to want to jump up and down a little bit?
It was all a blur. Honestly, I don't think I knew what I needed in the shot.
You may have needed 2 on that first one.
Two?
Yeah, I think you might have needed 2.
This last couple of frames, they're a blur. I don't really remember much about that.
That's sometimes a funny moment in the sport of bowling is when you know you've already got it won, you have to continue to finish things out, and and I'm sure you're like, I want to party a little bit here, right?
I think at this point you figured out that you absolutely had enough. And there's a smile.
Yeah, and we finally got one out of you. So
Yeah.
Jack winds up winning game number 3. So you win 2 of the 3 games, but once again, it winds up being a 24-pin advantage for Dana, and it doesn't really matter how many games get won, it's a matter about the pins.
Now we know about that all right from the get-go. I knew what my job was, and I just wasn't quite able to get it all done.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of an exhale. There's your final score posted up. That's the numbers, the 24-pin win for Dana Voytovich. And the unfortunate part of winning this tournament is you have to shake the hand of USBC President Greg Merkel. No, Merkel's our buddy. But there you go. He's the Obenauer Masters champ. So it's Dana Voytovich, the 55th Obenauer Masters champion. And Dana, there's one thing that's very interesting to me. You are the first two-handed bowler to win this tournament. Is this a historic moment in Buffalo bowling to have you and that style be the first one to wear the crown of the Obenauer?
It's pretty cool. I'd like to see more people take it up. I think it's a cool way to bowl. I mean, I don't know. I don't like to think of myself as much different than any other bowler, so.
Jack, is it a moment that we may remember for a long time?
I don't think
change in the way.
I don't think it's going to be the last one you see.
Right.
First off, Dana will probably win another one, so that'll be so he'll at least have 2 then. But I think you'll see more of it. I mean, it's just it's a way to generate power and speed that can come in handy in today's game.
And we want to thank Jim Russo and Manor Two Lanes for helping us do this special edition of Beat the Champ. We are back to the regular show from the Tonawanda Bowling Center next week. We will see you then on Beat the Champ.